All we've got to do now is to start pumping.
Welcome in, everybody, to a new edition of the Fully Inflated Football Podcast. And welcome in to my good friend, Andre Weingarten, total stud when it comes to draft talk, former editor of Madden ratings and franchise designer. And thank you so much for taking time today to talk some draft. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good. If I knew that was the name of the podcast, I don't know if I would have come on. But, you know, for my brother, you know, I can't say no. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
That's right. For those wondering, this is another person. It's not like a mirror that I'm talking to here. But excited to talk some draft, my man. We did a mock draft. Was that last year we did a mock draft? Or was that 2 years ago?
You know, time has lost its effect on me. I have no idea what's going on.
I think it was because I took Mac Jones with the Broncos at 9, and you said it was a terrible pick, and now he's your quarterback.
Oh, yeah, that happens. I remember a few years ago, I was not very high on Jarvis Landry, and a week I said something on Twitter, and a week later, the Browns traded for him. And I'm just like...
you get the players that you criticize.
Yeah, I mean, Devontae Parker's another one that I was kind of lukewarm on, and naturally they trade for him, and it's like the Patriots trade for him. I'm like, cool.
Well, you got to just start talking trash about Mahomes or something, because
right.
I mean, the Chiefs are doing crazy things this year, so you never know, I guess.
I think that one's a little
bit too far fetched.
Yeah, just a wee bit, but yeah, maybe Travis Kelce or
yeah, something like that. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to have a full show today. We're going to talk really about every draft prospect that you've gotten a chance to dive into, and just have some good deep draft conversations. So
love that.
We're just going to kind of bounce off each other, kind of talk about what we feel about these prospects, probably have some friendly disagreements, but let's start with the cornerback room. I know this was the first group that you chose to focus on.
Yep.
I did want to ask, why did you choose to start with the corners?
So that's my position. That's always been my favorite position to study. There's something about it that just always draws me to it. It's such a difficult position to play. So when you see someone that does something special or rare, it really jumps out in a different way than other spots. It's similar to quarterback, but quarterback is a lot of mental. And so some of the things that you really have to be so laser focused in and see why something's happening rather than if it did or not with a quarterback. For corner, it's a lot of reactionary quickness and just pure unadulterated athleticism, because they are being dragged around by the nose by whatever wide receiver or tight end or whomever they have to cover. And watching them be able to match that is something that so few people in the world can do. So it just naturally, that's one of those things that always kind of like, wow, this is such a pure display of incredible athleticism.
Yeah, the more I've learned about the position, it has very quickly become one of my favorites as well. Like, recently I've been able to get more access to all 22, so that definitely helps, because
yes,
it is the one position you have no idea on the broadcast, like what the hell is going on back there. So
yeah, safety too, because safety gets involved in a lot more situations where it's zone and it's matching and it's the responsibility being able to see everything from a top-down view of what they're seeing is very different than what you can tell from a broadcast or even sideline view. So it's just a very different experience. So
totally. Yeah. I mean, I'm a weirdo. I started with offensive tackles. So
I mean, that's another position, right? That just how many people in the world can do it, right? If there were so many, you'd have a lot more good offensive line play. That is just, no one is trained to go backwards like that. That's just not natural, especially at that size and weight. And yeah.
So let's start with Sauce Gardner.
Yes.
You know what? We are going to start with Sauce, but give me your rankings of the guys you've evaluated so far.
Yep. So I will say that I have not done Kaiir Elam yet, so I can't speak on whether he is going to make it into my top 5. And I've heard really good things, so it's very possible that he will. But for me, my rankings go Trent McDuffie is my number 1 corner in this class, followed by Ahmad Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati, and then it is Derek Stingley, Andrew Booth Jr. from Clemson, Kyler Gordon, and then Zyon McCollum from Sam Houston State. Awesome. Zyon has a round 2 grade from me, straight up. Gordon is a tweener. He's going to probably end up being around 35, 40th on my board. And Booth, Stingley, Sauce, and McDuffie are clear first round grades for me.
Awesome. Well, why don't we start actually with, we'll just go in order there for you. Give myself and the viewers here the sales pitch on Trent McDuffie as cornerback 1.
Okay, easy enough. So when you watch someone like Trent McDuffie, you see the total package in terms of athleticism. You see that he has very good speed. Is it elite? No, but elite speed at corner is, it's elite. That there's a few people in the world who can do that. You're thinking more Dante Jackson, maybe Derek Stingley in that discussion. I think that's kind of why there's an appeal there. But if you want to talk about acceleration from a pedal, you want to talk about change of direction, you want to talk about football IQ, there is no one in this class that comes close to those 3 things than Trent McDuffie. As you know, one of my favorite quotes from the combine was Peter Schrager talking about something that he heard from a scout, that Trent McDuffie is so good that he could teach the other corners in your DB room when you bring him in. He's that smart of a football player. I've heard that he is the best player that Washington has recruited in the secondary in their current coach's time period there. That includes people like Budda Baker. That includes people like Byron Murphy, etc.
Kevin King.
Yes, exactly. So McDuffie,
obviously at the top of the pecking order there.
Yes. So for McDuffie, he also is versatile. He has the versatility that he can play in your face. He can play mirror match, bump and run. He can play off man. And I think he's the best off man corner in this class, which, if you're playing cover 1, you're going to be playing a lot more off man than you are going to be playing in someone's face. You can obviously do it. They'll have one corner in press, one corner off, 7-8 yards off. But he also is an elite zone defender. He can squeeze routes. He can make plays on the ball. Very good ball skills. Not the best in the class. I think you could say that Gardner, Stingley, they are just kind of a cut above. Andrew Booth, same thing. Those guys are a little bit more natural. And I think that's in part because McDuffie is a little sawed off. He's, sub 30-inch arms, and he's 5'11". But I don't see it as much of a hindrance based on the way he plays. And then in run support and physicality, 1 of 1. The way that he attacks, he plays like a safety. The way that he hits, the way that he triggers, that he can see the field, that he can make plays, slip blocks, etc. Like, he is, I would say, the safest with top 5 upside. Mm-hmm. Top 5 corner. Like, Jair Alexander in terms of coverage is the comp, but total package, it's lazy, but it's true. Budda Baker with a little bit better juice and coverage to play on the outside. I think he's a day 1 starter on the outside, and he moves into nickel in sub situations to get him closer to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I have him right now as somewhere between Kendall Fuller and Tre'Davious White as well. And I'm curious what you think would be his best. I mean, it sounds like you think he can literally it doesn't really matter what scheme he ends up in. I love him in sort of that Fangio style, the off, a lot of quarters, a lot of off 3. Yep. Where he can mostly keep his eyes on the quarterback and then run some of those match situations. Would you agree with that as the best scheme fit?
I think he's almost scheme proof, but yes, I would say that is probably his best fit. And it's similar to what he played at Washington. You didn't see him in guys' faces as much as you'd like. And, Washington irritated me because there were a lot of situations where you would see both McDuffie and Kyler Gordon isolated against 2 tight ends, because they just didn't travel that much because of the zone heaviness of their scheme, even though he was capable of it. And when he was in those man situations, he was great. I think you can definitely point to his processing and being able to make plays, redirect from those zone looks as probably his best avenue moving forward. So, Minnesota comes to mind right?
Yep.
Just coming from
I was
that
just gonna
type
say.
of style. If I was a team, I would consider him higher. I think the Giants or the Jets. I think the Jets would be a beautiful fit for him in Salah's scheme, the way that they like to play quarters, cover three, pair him with Bryce Hall. But uh, I think Minnesota probably should, from a talent perspective, be his floor. Even though I
Yes.
think he might end up going a little bit lower because he is a little bit smaller, and you see it all the time that those smaller guys end up becoming excellent players. So it's just kind of a
Totally.
size bias, which it is what it is.
Yeah. Minnesota's been the floor for me in all my mock drafts. I can't let him pass the Vikings. And I mean, he can make an impact day one slot or outside, whatever makes sense for them.
He'd be the best corner on the Minnesota Vikings in 5 years, day one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, kind of hard to argue with that. One last note is if he somehow falls to the Buffalo Bills they are able to line up Trey White, Hyde, Poyer.
Just give them the freaking trophy, man. They fixed overtime. Just give them the trophy.
I'm glad you said fixed instead of changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they I have plenty of thoughts on that team, but for my money, they're already the best roster in football. They have the fewest replacement level starters in the league.
Agreed.
And I think that is, do they have the high end talent? They've added some, right? They'll get Tre'Davious White back. They have Josh Allen. They have Diggs. They have Von Miller, who they added to the fold. They have some high tier players, but do they have blue chippers across the board like the Rams did? No, but they just have they have no holes across that entire defense, and the offense for the most part is really strong. That'll come down to scheme for them, right? How Allen plays with a new offensive coordinator, and we can
without Dable, yeah. It's like just trade up. Like they don't have any other holes. Like if they get McDuffie, whoo.
Oh God, please no.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
Please
so,
no.
God, that's like a dream fit.
Yeah.
So number 2 for you is Sauce Gardner.
Yes.
Out of Cincy.
Yep. So, there's the talk about, he didn't allow a touchdown in college. That doesn't matter to me at all because, one, there was an opportunity that he could have, or there's multiple, right? That's as much about the talent that you're facing and the quarterback being able to connect when you get beat. I think he actually had a play in his first game of the season that should have been a touchdown. The quarterback either missed him or overthrew it on a double move. But he has ridiculous length. He is elite size with good long speed. I watched him run with Jameson Williams when they played Alabama. Like he can run. He has really good acceleration. His hips are not super greasy, but they can definitely open up and redirect. I think you're going to see that savvier players, smaller guys will give him trouble. And that's why I have a little bit of pause why he isn't number 1 for me. But in terms of press, his length and his ability to jam, his patience, it's not at the same level as a Patrick Surtain, but it's right below. Right, Surtain is like the gold standard for press coverage coming out of college. The way that he played it, it was beautiful to watch.
Totally agree.
You don't want Sauce in off coverage. You just don't. It's not his game. You want him in someone's face. He can squeeze routes. He can be very physical. Excellent ball skills. And I think the most important part is when he plays man coverage, he has patience at the catch point. He has the length to disrupt and he's physical, but he is willing to wait for the receiver to flash his hands. He has patience there. I was expecting a ton of flags from him based on his style. I think he was flagged twice last year. So, it just very, very poised player with lots of upside. His tackling is little hit or miss. It's not the worst in the class by any means. It's just not special, but he's willing, right? That's really what you're looking for when it comes to run support for a corner. He's willing, he's able. For me, he fits like that Jimmy Smith. You want him in someone's face roll every single play, no matter what type of coverage it is. And, that's top 10 level projection, right? Upside there.
Yeah. I think, he's very clean prospect. Probably the most straightforward eval, I would say, out of all these guys. And I I loved Surtain last year. He was my number one.
Mhm.
And I think Surtain is still the best grade I've given on a corner. But
Yeah.
um,
Well, that was a good call on your part because he was literally like a mid-tier CB2 in his second week of the season. It was
yeah,
unbelievable how good he was.
I thought he wasn't getting enough credit for his speed and just,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't see the speed coming out the same way that you did, and he showed it. He showed it early in the NFL. So that was really good. I had him and Newsome 1A, 1B, and I think Newsome
Yeah.
showed it too. Injury is his big flag, but just from a pure coverage standpoint, they do different things. But it's similar to McDuffie and Gardner, right? Like one guy's a finesse, very high IQ player, and one is I'll beat the hell out of you in press coverage and can do that.
Totally. So let's talk about Stingley, because Stingley is my number one corner.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think just in the conversations we've had, we generally agree.
Yep.
It's just a differing, scale of, gambling, I guess.
Yeah.
I think we both agree on the upside that he has the highest upside in this class. And I would say the highest upside of any first round corner in the last 3 years, at least.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I know you were really high on like Henderson's upside just with his speed, but
no, I'm going to say that I think McDuffie has equal upside.
Okay.
Just in a different way.
Absolutely.
Because I think when it comes to Stingley, you right, we totally agree. He is an elite athlete across the board. Like he gets elite speed, acceleration, change of direction from me right out of the bat. Press coverage, he's excellent. Off man, he's good. Not great. Zone, he is underdeveloped to say the least. And ball skills are best in class, right? I think when you look, I think for that reason, I'd say his upside is a little bit higher than McDuffie's, because right, that's always the separator. Like when we looked back at the Okudah Henderson class, like the top 4 guys had no ball skills whatsoever. It was unbelievable. Jalen Johnson was the only guy with any ball skills in the first 5 corners, and then you have Johnson and Diggs and a few others who had that as their calling card. But like Stingley can just go up and just get it. I think his length is a little light.
Only 30-inch arms, like 30 and a half. Yeah.
And it showed up at times getting boxed out at the catch point by bigger players. Seth Williams got him a couple times. Like there's just, so that's my one thing, like his instincts with the ball in the air, his ability to high point, his, all those things, he has it. But the reason he's number 3 for me, and we've discussed it, the effort and the capability and run support, the football IQ in the zone systems, right? Most teams are playing zone coverage 55% of the time, right? Like at the least. Right?
The most extreme ends, yeah.
Yeah, no, the most extreme is like 75% zone.
Well,
right?
like the Eagles, I was thinking the highest man teams are like 45.
Yeah.
I don't think a single
teams,
team was 50% last year.
It depends on who you're citing. I think the highest, based on what I saw or calculated through a few different sources, was about 60%, and that was Dallas.
Okay.
In cover 1.
That was Dallas.
Yeah. So, I mean, which makes sense, right? That's kind of what they did. But even so, that's 40% of the time you're in zone coverage. If you're really underdeveloped there, and you can teach zone eyes and you can teach that stuff much more easily than you can teach man coverage skills, but he's just so behind in that, and in the tackling and the run support willingness and the effort. The past 2 years have been really rough, plus the injury, right? We have no idea. Lisfranc injuries are able to come back from, but foot injuries are really bad long-term for players. They just, right, it's kind of like the stress that you're constantly putting on the feet over time, especially for being able to quickly change direction. It just provides more weakness. You suffer more injuries over time because of it. There's just things, but the effort really irritates me, because there were plays in 2020 that I saw in 2021 that I'm like, this some of these plays you don't expect from a draftable player. When he played UCLA, he had multiple plays where he was standing in the area of the field that would be a hook zone, doing nothing in zone coverage, totally away from the play, just standing there.
Yeah.
Like just total disinterest.
Yeah. I mean, he checked out. And, I do look at that situation and I can excuse it. It's not ideal. Like, absolutely, It's not ideal. But, I mean, I do think you're on a national champion team. Everyone's saying all these things about him. He was like, I could come out now and be a top 5 pick, and he could have been.
Yep.
And then, his good buddy Jamar Chase, like, he gets to opt out and go pro. So he's got this kind of opt out COVID culture, and then he's expected to come back in a year where their coach was kind of checking out. It was just, I think it was just a nightmare culture scenario after that national championship.
Yeah. I mean,
just a complete exodus of talent, and he was the only one stuck there.
Yeah. I mean, you hear a lot about LSU that the culture does not have a tremendous amount of accountability or discipline. I think you've seen it pretty much with every single linebacker that's ever come out of LSU, that their whole thing is play as fast as possible and discipline doesn't matter. Just go out there and be a wild person. And you see a lot of LSU DBs come out with this type of effort then, right? Some turn it around, some don't. But I think for me, if this is going to be a player that's considered so high, and I'm not going to excuse it. I can rationalize the effort, right? For what you said. But does that mean that he has to go to a team that can ignite his fire, right? If he goes to the New York Jets, who's to say that he won't check out, right? If they're not doing well, which odds are they might not, right? If he goes to a team that is not a playoff team or a contender or someone who can, or doesn't have a strong DB room or DB coach, what does that look like for him? And I think that's just a risk that we can't project, right? We don't know him personally. Teams have to vet that. But for me, I think the two guys above him have much fewer risks associated with them, and the upside is still so high for them, right? We're talking top 10 corner, clear CB1 type players. I can't rationalize the gap between someone who I view as a top 5 guy in McDuffie and maybe a top 3 guy in Stingley when the floor, because of those factors plus the injury history. So that's really why. Yeah. I agree with you. When you see him at his peak, he is sensational. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. I think it's entirely rational. So I'm not gonna go Stephen A. Smith on you for that one, but I just I don't know. I have a very good feeling about him.
Yeah, no, and I can totally respect that.
Yeah. So you had at 4 was Booth?
Yep.
Okay. You want to give the rundown on Booth?
Well, first off, what do you think about him before I give you my spiel? Because I've been doing a lot of the talking here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think his best trait to me is that just kind of speed up and down the sidelines, whether he's closing down or flipping and getting vertical.
Yeah.
They ran a ton of off or press bail, so just a lot of kind of verticality in his game. I didn't get to see him too much like cross the field or handle a lot of high-end route runners. So I think there was times where I feel like you saw a little bit of hip tightness. And we talked about it a little bit, like he just kind of tripped over himself. Like his footwork just wasn't prepared for a lot of routes. So he's just kind of one-dimensional at the moment, but I did like his eyes in zone. I think that acceleration is close to best in class. And I think his skills will definitely translate in a zone-heavy scheme. And I think he can become a better press man corner with the right coaching. It just would probably take a little bit of time.
So the first thing with Booth for me, and I agree with you on basically everything you said. The first thing is he had 15 career starts in college. That is, so right, he had 4 starts coming into 2021. And early in 2021, he looked like someone who had 4 starts. It just was. One of the things that I noticed immediately in his first 3 games that I watched was he didn't have a good feel for what the first down marker was.
Mm.
It's just he just didn't have the spatial full awareness as he was gaining depth and what he was doing, and that's just right. That's just experience. But he's one of those guys that I view as like the arrows pointing straight up, and I would put him in a press man scheme tomorrow. I think off is going to take some time because I think he has good reaction quickness, and I think he had better footing as the year went on. I think that was a lot of uncertainty, right, with him trying to figure out too much at once. But I think his route anticipation still needs a little bit of work for that very reason. But when he's more reactionary than processing in man, I think he's better in that department. Another guy, his ball skills are insane. I mean, he played wide receiver in high school a bit. Like he has it, and he made some ridiculous high point plays, out of frame catches that you don't see from corners. Period. Like there was a play, it was a throw in the flat, and receiver ran the wrong route, and he literally full extension dived to his side catch.
Wow.
And it was like,
I missed that one.
Whoa. So yeah, he can do a lot of things. He's really willing and physical in run support, right? So he's a guy that you can get on the field early. Zone, I think he just needs, again, just time to keep figuring it out. But he's so smooth in his matching when he's in somebody's face. I think the jam and getting the timing down of his punch, that'll come with a little bit of time. But just the feet, you could see that how clean his feet are. That I'm like, this dude he's already pretty darn good. And you give him some more seasoning with a good coach. Oh, this is going to be scary because he has all of those, right? He checks all those. This is what a playmaker does. This is the versatility. He has the athleticism, etc. And he's willing, right? He doesn't take plays off the same way that you might have concerns for someone who is raw. So that's why he's pretty high up on the board for me.
Yeah. Kyler Gordon, I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on Kyler Gordon. I did cover him in my cornerbacks video last week. He's solid. Yeah. Like he kind of does a little bit of everything. He's, rocked up, can shed. He'll like hammer people. He had the forced fumble. Was that Oregon in 2020? I think they ran a jet sweep.
Yeah.
And he just popped him, forced a fumble. I think they got like a 60-yard return on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he's pretty scheme independent. Just don't know without kind of the length and long speed if he's ever going to be a great corner.
Yeah. My initial comp to him was kind of Malcolm Butler in the NFL, that aggressiveness, that size. Like you're right. He doesn't have that long speed. I think it's good, not great, right? Like he can run with some guys. He had a play against Oregon State against a track guy that he was just kind of stride for stride for, and then the guy got a little bit past him and he never could catch back up. So it's like, okay, this guy's probably a 4.35 guy that he's trying to chase, and he's just not getting anything back in space. So he's not that level speed. I would say he's a good overall athlete, right? Good acceleration, good change of direction, good IQ, but like for me, he squeezes routes really well when he plays with a really nasty edge at corner. As you mentioned with that forced fumble, he's really willing in run support. He's a good tackler. He's aggressive. He can get beat because he is aggressive. His eye discipline is a little bit shaky. Instincts can improve, but he feels like a good zone slot to me. That was kind of the initial instinct. I know that doesn't exactly translate with Malcolm Butler in terms of
I've got Rashad Fenton.
Yeah. And I think I told you that's a comp that I just never would have thought of because I just can't even justify thinking of Rashad Fenton.
I know no one thinks about him, but he's good. He's solid. He does a little bit of everything.
He is solid. I don't think he's the caliber run defender.
That's very, very fair.
Right, because if he was, he would be their slot with because they've been trying to get Snead out to wide corner for a while.
Yeah.
And they just don't have anyone who can match that. But yeah, so like I have a late one, early two. Like he's a day one starter. He's going to be a good player. I think my upside for him is like top 20, top 25 corner
Okay.
overall. His floor is kind of like a mid number two. So like
Mhm.
he's a day one guy with limited upside but a high floor.
Yeah. Yep. And then we have Zyon McCollum, the last one here, and I feel like I'm getting credit for this, but you totally tipped me off to him. I hadn't gotten to him. I don't know if I would have gotten to him in time for my top 10 corners video because he's way down there on some of the consensus stuffs, but not anymore. He's not going to be for nobody. He is totally, the hype is caught up. I think second, third round is pretty much a lock at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, the testing numbers are absurd. 4.33, a 1.46 10-yard split, which I think is the best in the class. I still haven't jotted it down for like the bottom of the group, but 3 cones, 6.48, which I think is best in class. 3.94 shuttle, same
that's
thing.
one of the best 3 cones I think you'll ever see. I think it's like
that's
97th percentile, something like that.
Yeah, I think like Buster Screen ran like a 6.4 or something like that. Like a 5'7", super quick. Yeah, I mean, he's just this athletic freak. And he's played, like 28 football games in the last year with the spring season?
Oh, yeah, no, he's played a lot. So he's fun. As I said, he has a round 2 grade for me. When you compare the guys who have like that height, weight, speed type build to them, he and Tariq Woolen are kind of like the guys that everyone keeps kind of talking about. And Woolen is more of a wide receiver playing corner.
I am not impressed.
Yeah, like he needs time. He's not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
McCollum is a true corner with legitimate speed, ball skills, etc. So he's 6'2", 199. Fun fact: he has a twin on the team that played.
Really?
He wore number 22. His twin wore 23. So identical twin. So like,
is his twin like coming out in a year and he's going to run the same numbers? Or
I don't. I think he was a senior too. I don't think he's the same caliber player. But so for me, looking at him, you have the long speed that shows up on tape everywhere. The acceleration, you can see the foot quickness, especially when his start stop. If he needs to, he can match double moves. He can do all sorts of stuff like that. Change of direction, fluidity shows up when he has to literally flip his hips, both laterally and vertically, which is like, okay, this guy can match it. And he's a high IQ player. The biggest issue for me, because I think he can play in press man, I think he can play in zone. Off man, he can play it. I have some questions, and I'll get to those. For me, his press technique is terrible in terms of his hand placement.
Hands.
So
yeah, that's what I saw as well.
So it's coaching. Like, it is legitimate. It was not something that he just did, because it is just bad coaching. It's it's kind of like same hand, same foot, and he just it just throws himself off balance. There's no pop in his punch. It's literally just a maneuver to say you did it, and it benefits nobody. So an NFL coach is going to take that and they're going to fix it immediately, and he'll be fine, because if he plays press bail, he's got the rapid fire feet to cut off anything. The one thing I'll say is, for someone of his size, he does not play with enough physicality for me. He plays more of a finesse corner, which is why he's not higher for me. I'd love to see him fight through the hands of guys as they're going downfield a little bit more. He can do it at the tops of routes, on verticals, and he'll draw a flag here or there because he's aggressive that way and he has good ball skills. But, on a dig, on a slant, I just like him if you're in phase, just to impact the route a little bit, just make them uncomfortable. And he doesn't do that a ton. He's very willing in run support, tackling, comes in high, doesn't, more pop than rap, but he's willing, and he has experience as a punt gunner. He's played a lot of special teams. He's a team leader. So when you talk about the physicals, the ball skills, the intangibles, like, he's the perfect mold for a round 2 player. So when I saw him first, I'm like, how the hell is he not getting talked about more from inside the NFL? I guess they were hoping he would fall, and then and then he tested like that. So,
Were you able to watch? Did he ever go up against Christian Watson?
I don't know. If
I
he
feel like
did,
you
I
would have
didn't get a
remembered
chance to
if
see it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I didn't have any film on any. I don't even know if they played them, but I assumed in 30 games at that level with this between the spring season and the fall, I assumed they would have played. But that's a matchup I would have loved to see. Just two freak D1 AA guys going at it. I was just curious if you saw that, but yeah, I agree. Second round for me as well, and he is going to need to get coached up and play more physical, but
he seems willing, right? He has the. It seems like
Mhm.
he has the mental and physical makeup to be a successful player. My comp for him was Prince Amukamara. That was kind of the type of player, right? That finesse, really rapid fire feet player who you always thought of was like a little bit more physical than he was because of his size and length.
Mm-hmm.
And so I say he could be a mid tier number one corner if he fixes his press coverage. Like he has those skills to do it.
I mean, technically speaking, he has the highest upside of any cornerback ever. So,
Fair enough.
So I just want to throw a couple sleeper names at you. I don't know if you're you probably won't get deep enough to watch these guys if you're only doing 50 guys or so, but just if you have time, these are some guys I would check out. Marcus Jones out of Houston. Have you heard anything on him?
Yes, I've heard a lot of good things about him. Right, he's a slot guy.
Well, that's the thing. He played outside. He's 5'8". They used him on offense. Darius Williams just entered the chat. So what's amazing about him is, and I hate to use this, but he's a football player.
Ooh, he's a football guy.
Not football guy. He's just a football player. Like the natural, whether it's ball skills or when he has the ball in his hands. Like I almost want to see what he can do at running back. He's that smooth. If nothing else, he has, let's just say Pro Bowl potential as a return man, either on kicks and punts. So if nothing else, are you watching him right now?
No. So first off, he's going to be 24 as a rookie.
Okay.
With a 69-inch wingspan. That's 5'9".
Oh, he's tiny.
28
he's
inch
absolutely
arms,
tiny. Watching his tape is hilarious because he plays like, press bail on the outside for Houston.
Insane.
And he doesn't even try to put his hands on guys. He just runs vertical, but he's really good in coverage, but there's nothing he can do at the catch point. There's nothing he can do. He just doesn't have the range to contest a lot of balls. So that's why he won't play on the outside. He's a slot only guy. But he could be like a buster screen or something from the slot. I don't even know if he's gonna necessarily make it because of the size. But I will say everything about his technique looked good to me. Mm-hmm. He was a risk taker in zone, and just as a return man, he's electric. Like he just has, and they used him on offense.
Yeah.
Like if you go to his highlight reel, some of them are like jet sweeps and stuff.
Would you put him at free safety?
What was his 40?
He didn't run one.
That's the thing is I don't know if
if he has that speed,
the range to get there.
Yeah. No workout because of short shoulders. Oh God. Played through labrum shoulder injuries over the last 3 seasons and required surgery on his right and left shoulder in the past 3 months.
Mm-hmm. I compared him to K1 Williams.
Okay. Well, I mean, I love K1, so that's awesome.
I do think he's really smart and tough, and it's literally just the size. Like if he was 6 feet, he'd be a first round player.
Hey, if he had 18 pass breakups this year, that says a lot that he can play even with that size. So have him noted.
Yep.
Who else?
And then the other guy is Tariq Castro Fields, who is kind of like a poor man's McCollum in some ways, just kind of similar criticisms. I think he's really athletic. He was the one guy at the Senior Bowl, other than Roger McCreary, who's just really sound in man. So he stood out at the Senior Bowl. But Castro Fields was the only other guy that could stay tight in both off man and press man at the Senior Bowl and was able to actually find the ball.
Interesting.
And if you can do that in the Senior Bowl, you're going to make noise for me, because those drills, it's just DBs getting whooped left and right. And
yeah.
And I would say he won more than he lost. And some of those wins were, I think he had 2 interceptions. So that stood out to me. Just, it didn't always show on tape. You can see the movement skills on tape. You can see big wins on tape. But just the physicality down the field, he kind of gets pushed around at the catch point. And the zone feel needed some work. So I just think there's something there as a mid-round guy with athletic upside. And so there's just a couple mid-round sleepers for you.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yep.
What is he? Penn State? Yeah.
Penn State. Yep.
Okay. Did you watch the kid Kalon Barnes from Baylor? I
have not.
Okay. He was the 4.23 guy. So I was just curious if he was someone that I wanted to get to before the draft for that very reason. I'm like, well, if you run 4.23, maybe not as important at corner, but that's just a fun player to see.
All those Baylor guys. I haven't done the receiver either.
Yep. There are a lot of,
what is it? Tyquan Thornton.
Yeah. There are a lot of old corners in this class. Well,
that's going to be normal for the next couple of years.
Yeah,
with the COVID stuff.
Martin Emerson is 21, turning 22. Chris Steele, USC. Michael Wright, Darion Kendrick. Those are the guys who are sub 22 years old right now. Cordell Flott is 20. Oh, God. Jack Jones is going to be 25 as a rookie. Ooh. Yeah.
Is Cordell Flott 20? Is that what he said?
Yeah, he's 20 right now. He'll be 21 in his rookie season.
Okay. That's a name a lot of people keep telling me. I haven't watched him yet.
Yeah. Brugler has him in 5th, 6th round range, but and then Gardner's 21, McDuffie's 21, Stingley's turning 21, Booth's 21, Elam's turning 21, etc.
Yeah, all those first round guys are young.
Yeah, which is not uncommon, right? They declare early. So
yep. So let's transition off of corner for a little bit and talk about some of these other guys you've
was that intentional?
Checked out
the transition.
It worked.
Fair enough.
I'll take what I can get.
Okay.
So let's talk about Kyle Hamilton.
Oh God.
Who you and I agree that he's just underwhelming. Entirely underwhelming. Like, you hear all the hype, you see him, guys on NFL Network say he's the best player in the class, that he's a blue chip player, top 3 pick, you name it. Basically all off of one interception against Florida State that went viral. But when you watch him, it's not bad tape, but it's certainly not as advertised. So what are your, I guess, criticisms of him that someone that maybe had the consensus opinion on him should be aware of?
So would you like me to just read my scouting report that I wrote on him?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So here are his strengths. He has rare size and length for the position, 33-inch arms at 6'4". Good long speed, able to eat up ground in a hurry once he hits his stride. I think we see that in a lot of situations, especially on special teams. Solid agility to flip his hips and match routes vertically. Had some really nice plays, breaking up passes when he had that chance to open up a little bit ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Tremendous.
That's what was really key, by the way, was he had to use that kind of processor to open up early.
Yes, I'm 100%. Tremendous potential to jam and blanket tight ends with solid or worse athleticism. Didn't get a lot of opportunities to do so based on where he was lining up, but you can definitely see the skill set to do it. Uses length to disrupt at the catch point and has a good feel for when he can get his hands on the ball and when he can't. Very good pop in his paths to jar passes loose from players entering his area. I think you saw that with a few plays that were a little scary. I'll get to that later. Very good instincts from the slot and box versus the run. He diagnoses plays really well and triggers in a hurry when working downfield. I think you see that in his recognition of jet sweeps, on outside zone, being able to work across the formation and make plays, things like that. Just good at navigating traffic, sorting through trash. Which was the next note. Excellent tackle radius. He missed 0 tackles in 2021 when he had a chance to wrap up the ball carrier, which, I think that speaks volumes too. If he gets his hands on you, it's over, because he literally has pterodactyl wings as arms.
Right.
And he has experience as a gunner, right? He is a guy who can play special teams for you very early on, and that's the best example of his long speed. So those are the positives. For the negatives, marginal explosiveness hinders ability to drive on passes from both deep and box alignments. You can see that he can recognize it, but he just can't get up to speed quickly enough in short bursts. Tremendous lower half stiffness. He's upright and leggy in his transitions, which can get him in trouble in off-man and match coverages. He's 6'4", right? He just doesn't get low enough in his squat. He gains minimal depth in his pedal, limiting his ability to play deep or rotate deep post-snap. If he's near the line of scrimmage, he has to go side saddle to gain really any depth, which kind of can put him out of position if you're not square back towards the line of scrimmage. So it's harder to transition anyway. Lacks the burst, agility, and change of direction to play in the slot at the next level or face good athletes at tight end or wide receiver and man coverage. Very underdeveloped route anticipation in both man and zone, and I'll get to that in a minute. Eyes stay plastered to the quarterback on all times at zone coverage, losing track of players entering or exiting his area. I think you see that quite a bit, that he is really good at reading the eyes of the quarterback and playing aggressively through it. But even in his game against Florida State, or even the following week against Toledo, he had guys literally walk right behind him that he never felt or saw, and they punished him for it. Marginal pursuit angles from deep alignment, responsible for at least 4 explosive runs due to poor decisions in 2021. Just doesn't have that lateral agility to make guys to correct his path when he's coming in hot. Can come in a bit high on his tackles. That's just a minor criticism. For the next level, that it might be a little bit difficult for guys to slip underneath. Undisciplined to borderline dirty player at times. He had 2 really bad roughing the passer penalties that were late, and he launched himself at the back of the head of David Bell versus Purdue. I still have no idea how he didn't get thrown out for targeting for that. Bell was carted off the field. He literally wasn't even facing Hamilton, and he jump lunged at the back of his head. So he plays an undisciplined brand of football. So here's the overview. One of the biggest safeties to enter the NFL. He has incredible length and good long speed to match up with tight ends and coverage at the next level. He shines brightest in the box and in run support, triggering and playing with aggression while moving towards the line of scrimmage. In condensed spaces, he brings down runners with ease, limiting yards after contact. In coverage, he is a mental work in progress, but has the size, strength, and length to disrupt solid athletes at tight end early in his career. His best role may be weak side linebacker at the next level if he adds a bit more bulk, but he projects as a box-only safety with the potential to be a tight end eraser and very good run defender.
Yeah. Now, you do still have, you were talking like second round is where you would take him?
Yep, he is a 6.5 for me, which is a top-tier developmental player with a round 2 grade. I don't think he is a day 1 starter, and I don't think he is a quality player day 1 because of a lot of those things. But I think in time goes to the right team. He's very young. Obviously, when he sees what he needs to see, he can trigger quickly. Yeah. But it just depends on, there's athletic limitations there that I don't think he'll be able to overcome.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm still a little higher than that. I still think I would take him in the first if I was a defense that had the right role. It's tough. It's tough to find that spot though, because you hear I've pushed back on Washington taking them, for example. I think Landon Collins specifically failed there because they didn't have he's not a great player, but they didn't have that kind of dime linebacker spot for him. Yeah. You got to have somewhere where he can play a little will and really just be that overhang / linebacker defender. And not every defense is able to properly utilize that. So it does.
You need a 4-3 fit essentially, right?
Yeah, basically. Yep. Or like a big nickel.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo probably could be a fit. I know they like to use Saron Neal a lot around the
Yep.
line of scrimmage in a role like that, which, depending on I don't think he's going to fall that far. But and by the way, round 2 means, for me, usually between picks 22 and picks 40,
Totally. Yeah.
right? Because I max out
You
at
don't
around
do the
20
whole
first
1 to
round.
2 thing. You just do first or second.
Depending, yeah, for the
Okay.
most part, I do first or second, right? Because he's not a first rounder for me, right? I
Gotcha.
give 20 of those or so. I
Mhm.
think the max I've done is 24 a couple of years back.
Yeah. And he's on the back end of that for me. He's the 17th player in this class for me.
Yeah.
And I think I have 19 guys with first round grades. So he's on the very
Mhm.
back end of that for me.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite little notes on him before we move on to the next one is my original comp on him was just Spider-Man because his best traits are reach and reaction time. And that's Spider-Man. So like,
That's funny.
let me just read what I wrote on that portion of him. Because I don't know exactly how to translate it into football relevance, but the combination of his wingspan and elite reaction time give him a unique ability to act as something like Spider-Man, able to cast webs into passing lanes or as a tackler to bring down ball carriers towards the sideline.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that, but that's just something that
No, I like that.
he's just this reachy, super quick reactive, like guy in the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The play for me that really crushed. There were 2 for me that crushed my eval on him. I mean, obviously they were just examples of a broader theme. There was a play where he was literally lined up outside the numbers, or he was backpedaling outside the numbers, and he could not make a play on a fade ball from cover 2. It took him, tremendous amount of time to both recognize it and then crash on it, and it just he never could accelerate. I'm like, that you have to an NFL safety
because the QB was probably holding him.
Yes, I mean, it was to that side, right? Like he was
Yeah.
outside the numbers. Like you're right there. You have to make a play on that. And the other it was a trips alignment. It was cover 3 cloud, and he just watched the quarterback, never saw the number 3 receiver in the formation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, this is literally your responsibility to rotate middle of the field. And he was playing off 8 yards. And by the time that the quarterback threw the ball, he was 13 yards from the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, the deep free safety and in like cover 3, it's ugly.
Yeah.
And there's another play against it was Cincinnati, where Cincinnati had been running trips all day, and in college you got the wide hashes. So when you're in cover 3, really the top of that trips is actually the middle of the field, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I know this. I've never played safety a day in my life. They motion the inside slot over to the right.
Yeah.
And Hamilton doesn't move at all pre-snap, and it's hard to know what's coaching and what's not, but he stayed playing as if the middle of the field was off on that trip side, but it was no longer trips. And the receiver that motioned over ran a post over the middle, hook zone linebacker, let him through, and Hamilton was nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot to develop there with him for sure.
Yeah. So when people are like, "Oh yeah, no, he can play all these roles," I'm like, but he couldn't.
He can't.
Like, yeah, I mean, and then literally he had a play coming top down, and the running back just kind of went like this, and he just whiffed on him. Just he didn't even turn. It was literally like a step slightly to the right, and the guy went 65 yards because he couldn't handle just something that simple. And it's like, oh.
So you know who can play everything?
Yes,
is Daxton Hill.
Yeah.
Now this one, I gave you credit for McCollum. I would like to take credit for Daxton Hill because I was telling you about him in February. I was like,
yes, you were.
This guy is different.
Yep.
And I had mocked him as early as 9 to the Broncos.
Wow.
In February. And I got slaughtered for it. But to this day, if the Broncos were still picking there, I still think I would do it. Like I think he's one of the 15 best players in this class. I really think he can play any type of safety that you want him to, including strong safety.
Yep.
Physical, ultra movement skills, flashed as a free safety, even if he wasn't used there. And the last thing I'll say is all of this hype that Travon Walker is getting that I do want to hit on, all of this hype about athletic potential and projecting what he can do in a different role, it should also be a conversation about Dax Hill, because he did not play a lot of free safety, but he can do it.
Yep.
There's a play against Wisconsin where he's in a single high cover 3, is just very minimal looks of him playing over the top in the middle, but they ran it was a tight end running a corner route, and he sees no threats coming his way. He crashes down, really had no business making a play on this ball. And Jake Ferguson made a really nice contested catch, but Hill got there in the split second, and he popped him. Easily could have popped the ball out, put it up in the air, you name it. So you do see the instincts from the top of the field, and you definitely see the speed. I mean, I think you play outside corner if you really wanted him to. Like, this dude is a monster, and I'm in love.
Yeah. So I will say you basically nailed every single thing that I feel about him. My role for him, I'll give you the overall for him, and then I'll talk about it a little bit. Overall, Hill has all the tools to be a versatile chess piece and is a year 1 starter at slot corner or deep safety, with the potential to carve out a role in the box or at wide corner in a pinch. My comp for him is Jimmy Ward. That was the type of player. He's longer than Ward. Fun fact, his wingspan is the same as Kyle Hamilton's, which is crazy because he's 6 foot. 32 and a quarter inch arms, so it's a little bit shorter on the arms, but he's broad. Yeah, he has elite speed. He has elite athleticism and explosiveness, change of direction for the position. Straight up. I think in general, when I watched every single snap that he played at free safety this year, and I said, this guy has the potential to be a top 3 free safety in the NFL. Straight up.
Yes.
Just like his understanding of route concepts from that deep alignment is so much more advanced than you would expect from a full-time free safety, let alone someone who played 150 snaps there in this season. He was redirecting his teammates on route concepts from a deep alignment. He had a play where he lined up, so I think it was versus Iowa. He lined up on left hash, and he rotated towards the middle of the field. The ball was on the left hash. Rotated towards the middle of the field, and the quarterback had a short throw, and he broke back because of the tight end running a vertical. And if the throw was online, Dax Hill would have been right there at the tight end outside at the numbers after going middle of the field and back. So like his range is rare in that spot. He rarely misses tackles one-on-one. Coming off of the edge as a blitzer, he had 3 batted passes and a sack. He has special team experience. He sets a hard edge in the run game. Very impressed by that for someone of his size. He crowds the catch point and knows when to go for the ball or the hands of the receiver. Right? Obviously, he can play wherever you need him to. He gains a lot of depth in his back pedal. I think were you the one who I was talking to about where he literally started deep, came to the line of scrimmage, and then got all the way back to his depth pre-snap?
I don't think that was me, no.
Yeah, he literally started deep, rotated down, looked like he was going to blitz at the line of scrimmage, and then backpedaled all the way back.
Gosh.
And got his depth. Like, just unbelievable stuff.
I think he was like bored at times playing in the Big Ten. He's just like messing around. Like,
unbelievable. My knocks on him, and it's the only reason I don't have him as a little bit of a higher grade, is weight size makes him a tough projection to play in the box full time. Right, that's just a little limiting. I think his instincts when he played in the box were adequate. I thought he latched on to play action a little bit too long, and that kind of got him in trouble. His route recognition from off-man coverage is a little inconsistent. I think he's a better zone player from a few different alignments. He sagged off routes a little bit prematurely once he gave up some space. I think he just didn't trust his athleticism a little bit on some of those things. He struggled to find the football or impact the catch point on slot fades when he was in phase. Just that's a really tough route to cover, but that was just a small note. And he had a number of missed tackles due to inconsistent ability to disengage. So, like, he would get engaged with somebody, he would try to disengage, and he would just be a tick late, and he would end up diving at somebody. And I think that was really where you saw some of the missed tackles come up. But, I mean, like, this is a day one starter.
At least he's disengaging, though.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is a day one starter in multiple roles with tremendous upside. When I say top 3 free safety upside, I'm like that. That is exactly what I think he could do.
He's faster, Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, I think he actually has I think he's a better coverage player.
Yeah,
than Minkah was coming out,
smarter and faster. I just think of this. Minkah was that slot corner that eventually made the change, and
because you're right. Minkah played the star role kind of similarly, and they're like, well, where does he play? I don't think you have to worry about that for Dax. I think you can give him a dedicated role. My one hesitancy is that because he's so versatile, teams will screw around with his development. And I think if you're a team, you want him, just put him at free safety if you want, put him in the slot if you want. Don't mess around too much. You can, safety probably gives him that role to play high-low, right? And then you can put him in the slot in a big nickel situation, but don't have him be too much of a chess piece. Or he's young, but he's got everything you want.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to skip through just a couple of these just to kind of pick up the pace a little bit.
Yep.
Just because I think there's one more player on this list that I think is really fascinating. So Jalen Pitre we were going to talk about, but just think super instinctive, physical, smart, like high IQ safety, all-around safety that played a lot of slot corner in college.
I consider him a zone slot day one.
Yep.
With some box potential.
I guess we should talk about Aidan Hutchinson. So I'll say Thibodeau.
Yep.
Let's skip Thibodeau for now. Let's just do Hutchinson and Travon Walker.
Okay.
Because I think those two are very interesting conversations.
Yeah.
Aidan Hutchinson is going to be the number one pick in this draft, almost without a doubt. I think he's currently like minus 500. He's like posting pictures inside of Jacksonville Stadium. Like I think it's pretty much a lock at this point. It would certainly be a surprise if he wasn't.
Yeah.
There's 3 more weeks till the draft.
Yeah. He's such a high character guy. Like, I get it. They don't want to screw this up. Right. Which I get. I totally get it. But
yeah. But just he doesn't have all those different levers he can pull with speed, bend, quickness. Like, it's just not all there. He's very polished. He's very strong. Also, the arm length is shorter. He's like 32 and a half arms. So
yeah, he has short arms for someone of his frame.
Yeah. He can win with power. I think he does win with inside moves. Absolutely. But without that threat of speed at the next level, I do think that will be diminished against better, smarter tackles. Mm-hmm. Was it against Alabama, or who was it that he got locked up in like the last game of the year?
Georgia.
Was it Georgia?
Yeah. Yeah, it was Georgia.
Yeah. I remember he had didn't really show out there, but yeah. What do you think?
I would say he'd be a really good pick at 14 in a normal draft. Mm-hmm. He is a tremendously high floor, low ceiling player. He's a pressure over sack guy. He's big. He's big. He has that elite motor. I think you're entirely right. I think his first step has improved over time, but he does not have that speed or juice to consistently threaten the edge. So, as you said, that's going to impact his ability to inside counter. His hands, I think he has probably the best hands of the top guys when it comes to pass rush. He has really good pass rush sequencing. He can use his hands in a variety of ways: 2-hand swipe, a rip, a swim. Bull rush can come in time. He had a really nice rep, obviously a few of those. But so he can get to the quarterback There were opportunities for him where if he could corner, he would have gotten a sack. And you can see the flexibility in his ankles just aren't there. He's just so tall, right? Like he's tall and he's lanky and, he's strong, but not overly strong, right? He's got good strength to him, good lower body strength, very good tackler, smart overall player. It's just, he'll play up and down the line, but to me, he's Brandon Graham. Like that's not the profile of a number one overall pick.
Yeah. And I'm not even fully sure he can be a better player than Brandon Graham. I think Brandon Graham had a unique ability just with his height. He's only like 6'2", and I think Brandon Graham had like 35-inch arms. I think Brandon Graham, just as a power rusher, was unique in that way. And I don't know if he can get to where Graham ever was as a power rusher.
I don't think so either. But when I say that, it's kind of like he has to win with power, right? He doesn't have the athleticism to win. He can play up and down the line. He has that versatility. He's a pressure guy over a sack guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally know. I know what you mean for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. Brandon Graham was at his peak was a really, really good player. Yeah. I mean, I know some people said Chris Long as a comp for Hutchinson. I could see that as well.
Yeah.
Chris had a couple really special years. So I love it.
Right now, he's the 8th player on my board, which in a normal draft class, you'd push him down 5 or 6 spots. And this is not a normal draft class. This is not a great draft class. I definitely wouldn't take him number 1. And I get it. If I'm Detroit, I kind of get that because you got the added like hometown hero aspect of it.
But he's going to Jacksonville.
Yeah. Man, I'd so much rather take Evan Neal or try to get out of the pick or do something else.
Not an Ekwonu guy, huh?
Oh, or Ekwonu, like totally.
Okay. Yeah. But that kind of leads us to Travon Walker, and I put out a tweet earlier about him. I don't know if you saw it, but Travon Walker, to me, feels like he is a more prototypical fit in terms of upside for what a number 1 overall pick is than Aidan Hutchinson. Mm-hmm. So the way that they used him was disgusting. I understand Kirby Smart. I understand everything that he did in terms of his strategy. And Walker performed his role as well as you could imagine. Just period. He was sensational at what was asked of him. But they never let him develop his pass rush. And he never started until this season. So he played 600. He's played 990 snaps in his college career. Aidan Hutchinson played 770 this year.
Yeah.
Like he is raw in terms of his ability to develop, but he is already an elite run defender. It is unbelievable what he could do. Speaking of Evan Neal, Travon Walker destroyed him in the run game in both games. Like Neal would try to get push on him and he'd just be like, okay, I'm just waiting. Goodbye. And just over and over again. It was unbelievable. Like,
well, you can't, as good as Evan Neal is as a run blocker, there's nothing you can do about the way that he is able to play run defense the way he does, because he just doesn't give up ground, and his arm strength this is what's infuriating. I think you felt the same way. His arm strength is so fucking good.
Yep.
But he doesn't rush with power. And it's like you see tiny little flashes of the power, but it's just like 2 or 3 plays in the year. And it's like, how do you not let him rep that out and make that a part of your defense?
Yeah. I mean, they basically had him playing contain if he was rushing to the outside. And if he was working to the inside, it was literally to maintain space and bodies for stunting, right? Like it was never his responsibility to get to the quarterback, which is just baffling for someone of that athleticism. But he was also physical enough that you could have him slanting inside repeatedly, and he played all over that front. I mean, he was playing freaking nose tackle sometimes. Right. I did see in the Alabama game, the second one, he had a handful of reps that I'm like, okay, he didn't get there because Bryce Young got the ball out quick, but he is winning this rep. Yeah, he had a long arm. I mean, first off, he has almost 36-inch arms. Like, he is a freak. But
Oh yeah.
he long armed the right tackle, and he walked him back into Bryce Young. And Bryce got the ball out because it was only it was from the shotgun. It was a quick hitter to the outside. But if that was held any longer, that is a pressure, maybe a sack, and neither show up. And I'm like, okay, check. He had a couple moves against Evan Neal, had a nice inside move on Neal. Like, he has the speed
from the
to
edge, like from the true edge he did?
Yes. He has the speed to threaten the outside if he gets there, right? If he's not playing contain every play. I thought his bend was not great, but it was better than Hutchinson. And yeah, I mean, his power is there. And there were plays that his first step, he was exploding, both in the run game and in the pass game. Like, okay, this guy's just raw. Like, he has it. He has everything you want in an edge rusher. He just has never had the chance to develop it. Right? Like,
so
you give him a good D-line coach.
I guess what bothers me about it a little bit is, like, I think he's incredibly similar to Gregory Rousseau was last year. Role was weird.
Yeah.
Long, incredibly strong arms. But a total projection as far as pass rush skill set. And Rousseau, I think, exceeded a lot of people's expectations in his first year with Buffalo, based on the way people talked about him.
Yeah.
A little bit tight, like not super bendy, but a little bit in there. He's
a much worse athlete than Travon Walker, which is
much worse.
Yes. 7'5" 3-cone versus 6'8" 9. 4.68 40 instead of 4.51. Shorter arms, 3-cone. Shorter arms, shorter wingspan, shorter shuttle, fewer bench reps. Like,
sure, yeah. When I watched Walker, though, I didn't think he was like this unbelievably quick guy.
No, and I agree with you.
I think he was on tape very similar to Gregory Rousseau from what I watched last year.
Mm-hmm.
And Rousseau for a while was my number one edge last year. So it's not like I'm not willing to take a risk on the upside. I was a huge Rashawn Gary guy.
Yeah.
But I just think top 5, it's just, I think it's pretty crazy.
I'd take him top. I would take him number 2 in a heartbeat.
Wow.
For a couple reasons. First off, something I learned is his dad was in the Marines. So he has that background to him. And he was raised with those values and that work ethic.
Yeah, that's always a plus.
Right? If you have that work ethic and you need to grow, you need that internal motivation. And Detroit, that culture, I think he would flourish in that culture. Just based on the upside.
But what if it takes him 3 years and they move on from him? Like, I think he needs to completely learn how to take a first step off the edge. I think he needs to better learn how to pair his lower body and his upper body with a bull rush. He has no idea any sort of like inside moves, counter moves, all that stuff. I think his athleticism is a little bit overrated just based on what I saw on tape. I think he's a really great athlete. I don't think he is exactly what his testing numbers are saying.
No, I think the speed is. I think some of the other stuff isn't. Right? When I watched him in Pursuit.
The long speed, yeah.
Yeah, in Pursuit, I'm like, oh my God. He caught people like crazy.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like when they'd have him like pop out and like do a loop, that's like where you would expect to see like, I can't think of a great comparison off my head, but like that's where you'd expect to see like the juice and the bend and all those like 3-cone drills and all that stuff. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, he looks like an NFL bigger, like a really good NFL athlete pulling that stunt off.
So my question to you, how'd you feel if he put on 10 pounds and played a 5-tech?
I wouldn't take that second overall.
No, not second overall, but just, do you think that fits him better than edge?
I mean, it depends.
Like could you see him as Eric Armstead? because he's not going to lose speed with 10 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a good comp. Like, unbelievable run defender in that role with enough functionality as a pass rusher. But again, like, I'm not taking that top 5. I think that's Gregory Rousseau. I think.
Yeah. No, I get
I'd
it.
rather him play at 270 and hopefully become an elite pass rusher. Like, that's what you're hoping for.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're going to take him top 5, that's what you would want him to be. I was just thinking if you felt that was his best role versus
day one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, like Detroit plays a hybrid, right? They do a lot of weird stuff, even past post Patricia. Yeah. So I don't know.
My comp for him is Marcus Davenport, who took about 3 years.
He did. I mean,
and
he was good. Yeah, he's a good player.
Oh, he was dominant last year. I love what I saw from him.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they can eventually turn him into that, that's great.
I think he's a day one starter with pass rush upside. Just let him slant inside, let him do some different things. Just don't have him contain, right? Just let him play freaking pass rusher, and maybe he'll show some things, right? That the final game, the fact that he did that against Alabama with some of that long arm stuff, that he did some of those inside moves, that he was able to beat Neal and control the point of attack, like that's scary to show the progression over time.
Totally. Well, it's good to know. Good to know you're high on him. I respect your eye for it. I wouldn't take him till 20.
Wow. He's still edge 3 for me. I still have Thibodeau higher, but just because pass rush is more important than
yeah. And we didn't talk about Tibbs, but because I've talked so much about him on this channel, and
I like him. I like him a lot. I'll leave it at that. Of the top guys, he's the best athlete of the group in terms of functional pass rush athleticism.
So I did have quarterbacks on here for something I wanted to hit on. I know you haven't gotten super deep. Is there anyone in this class that you like from what you've seen?
I really
like first round like?
No, not first round like, but I'll say I'm on the Desmond Ridder train, and I have been for a while. But the talk of him getting into the first round top 15 scares the hell out of me. I'm like, oh, this is my day 2 quarterback right here, right? This is your Dak Prescott, your Andy Dalton, your Kirk Cousins level round projected player who turns into a really good player because he has the mental processing and he can start early. Does he have the upside? Yeah. Does he have the upside that you would expect from a first round quarterback? Maybe not. His accuracy is a little bit scattershot. His motion's a little bit elongated, but he has a really good arm, great functional athleticism. I like him more than
talk about that a little more. When you say functional athleticism, because I'm curious what you mean by that.
Like, he doesn't just, it's not that he just runs fast, right? Like, Mariota ran fast, but did he move around the pocket that functionally? Was he, very elusive? Just, was he able to accelerate in the pocket and know when to use it? Not always. Read options, he was great. But Ridder, it's kind of like, this is a guy who can escape with it. He can escape to throw, not just run. He can run when he needs to. He can slide in the pocket with ease because of his athleticism and his agility and his explosiveness, right? Just to push off of his foot and get that, so that's kind of my thing.
I think I would disagree with you on that. I actually thought he was pretty Mariota-y. Okay. I thought he played a little tight. I thought he was a little unnatural. I didn't think he used his athleticism the way he could.
I don't think he did it enough, but I saw that he could.
That's the way was always the thing with Mariota for me.
Yeah.
Which is just do it.
Yeah. Well, that's why I didn't have Mariota as a number 2 quarterback.
Yeah. And I didn't think he was I didn't think he was his natural throwing on the run either.
Which is fair. Yeah. So, I mean, Willis is your ultimate upside project. That Liberty team was a disaster in terms of coaching and scheme. And I mean, how do you not have hot routes?
Same 5 plays,
right? How do you not have hot routes built into your plays? What if there's a blitzer, if there's a free runner, you just have to improvise on your own. Like that's malpractice. That's coaching malpractice.
Yes.
On top of having 2 offensive coordinators. So, he has all the talent and the skills. if you draft him and you start him day one, it's going to be a problem. Um, you know, Josh Allen was a problem year one. I know that's the common when people defend Malik Willis going early. It's like Josh Allen went.
He's not Josh Allen.
No, he's not. I mean, Allen had an arm that is one of this generation. Elway, Marino, Favre-esque, right? Like it's that level special.
Yes.
And Malik has a very good arm, worse than Mahomes, closer to Rodgers, Stafford.
How dare you?
Those types of guys, but not this is, rare, special, out of this world. Yeah. So, I mean, he's a great athlete too, right? He's a 4.4 guy. He won't run, but he, based on the miles per hour that I've seen, he's a 4.4 guy. So, like, if you're willing to take your lumps for 2 years, take them. But if you don't have a great coaching staff and plan in place, he's going to fail and you're going to get fired if you take him in the top 10. That's really all there is to it.
Well, that's an amazing transition to my next question of should the Panthers draft a quarterback, and will they draft a quarterback?
So
you're on the clock at 6, and let's just say one of the 3 tackles is there. All the quarterbacks are there.
If I was the general manager, I would not let Matt Rule take a quarterback because he will not be there most likely the next year. And that is my job on the line. I think from an organizational perspective, taking a quarterback when you shouldn't, when you have a coach who is on the hot seat of the hottest of hot seats, is something that will set your franchise back 4 years and will doom the future head coach.
Yeah.
So I would say
especially drafting, in my opinion, Malik Willis.
I mean, I think if you take Willis or Pickett, you're just, or even Corral in this situation, you're just setting yourself up for failure because it's just not an environment conducive to success, right? Like you see it all the time. You let the next guy get their quarterback. If they can salvage something this year and Matt Rule gets an extension, they turn things around, then you have your chance at a great quarterback next year. But they have no business from an owner's perspective, right? If that's a better example. If I was the owner of the Panthers, I would outlaw them from taking a quarterback.
Yeah. And I like David Tepper a lot. I've had a lot of questions about how things have gone there since he took over a couple years ago, but it's going to be very telling for me because I agree. If they take a quarterback and, I think especially if the raw variety, like you said, with Corral or Howell, but I think it would be Willis or Pickett seems to be the 2 guys they are considering. I can at least see a world where Pickett, and it's unlikely, but I can at least see a world where Pickett runs around, avoids mistakes for a year, plays well enough. They go 8-9 and it saves Rule's job. But then you're stuck in something worse than purgatory. But I do think if you take the raw quarterback, he is going to have to start day one because the pressure's on and, he's going to beat out Darnold sooner or later within the first month.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's just a ticking time bomb.
Yeah. It's just a terrible situation. Just they're in trouble. That's really all there is to it. They have talent, they have pieces, and they're stuck.
Yeah. I mean, what's crazy is they're a couple moves away, I think, of fixing it. And I think for me, it's left tackle. And I like the free agent signings they made. Let's not completely forget about those. They got Bozeman, Corbett, solid starters on the inside.
Yeah. I mean, it's better than what they had. Right, same thing with Cincinnati in some cases. It's better than what they had.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's left tackle and it's play call.
Yeah,
and
quarterback.
Not exactly.
Right?
Well, obviously,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Ben McAdoo.
Like,
really?
Hey, he wasn't
that's
the worst thing in the world before he was a head coach.
I mean, he's just a, budget Mike McCarthy.
Hey, yeah, the Cowboys Cowboys. Look what they did this year, right? Mike McCarthy doing his thing. But
thanks, Dan Quinn.
No, I bet you $100 that you never would have said that before this year. Thanks, Dan Quinn. In any serious manner.
I had to tweet that McCarthy, based on the way the award was voted, I said McCarthy needs to be in the conversation because didn't Harbaugh win it in Lamar's MVP year?
Yes.
I mean, similar idea because the coordinators, his team was so good.
But I'm just saying, like, you supporting Dan Quinn in any capacity.
I did not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if before this year, I bet you never would have thought you would ever say in any way giving Dan Quinn tremendous credit for a team's success.
Yeah. Sure as hell wasn't in Atlanta.
God, man. So I think that answered that question, though, right?
Yeah, but will they?
Yeah, I'd say the odds are 2-1. Yes,
I agree, and I'm terrified for him.
More power.
I'm glad I sold my Panthers stock. I hadn't quite sold it at the Darnold trade. I officially sold it. I was starting to sell it in free agency last year, and then I don't even remember what it was, but there was some moment last year. Maybe.
Knowing you.
I think I was out by then. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But I officially set him out.
Yeah.
On the Panthers.
I understand.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're gonna kind of bounce away from draft for a little bit, and I want to talk. We'll stay on the topic of quarterbacks, and I want to talk a little bit about Baker Mayfield, our third twin. He's gonna be on the move at some point here. I'm curious. I want to see where we both stand on Baker Mayfield right now. Like, if you were to rank him in a range, where would you rank Baker right now?
22 to 28.
Yeah.
I think I would say he is closer to who he is as a 2020 passer than what we saw last year, which is a quarterback who is accurate to multiple levels, whose timing and processing can get a little bit wonky, especially when he is forced into a very strict structure. That's kind of the best way.
The thing with Baker is it's amazing how quickly he breaks down into what looks like a backup quarterback when his tackles can't set the edge for him. It happened in 2019 and it happened last year.
Yeah.
He loses all poise and he just forgets how to play football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't know where the hell that came from because it didn't happen in Oklahoma. That's for sure. 2019's tough because they didn't know what they were doing on offense.
Yeah.
Post-script, like literally Freddie Kitchens had no idea what they were doing. And practices were bad and it deteriorated. But like, I was really excited. I know you were too when Tom Brady retired for different reasons. Because I thought Bruce Arians wanted Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Baker in that type of offense would be really strong for him. Because this boot game, because this style of offense it's for Jimmy Garoppolo's and Kirk Cousins. It's for the guys who, it's extremely structured, hit your throws, do nothing else. Right? Like, that's what this system is. And Baker can do that, but he wants to do more because he is a playmaker at heart. And he was at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So
And well, when you're always in 12, 13 personnel and your receivers are sprinting down the field, when you start improvising, there's just not a whole lot of options for you. So
yeah,
totally.
yeah, and it's just so I thought it wasn't the best fit in retrospect. I thought it could work because he's really accurate and his timing was pretty good beforehand. Right in 2018, it was on the money, and that was that was more of a Pittsburgh style offense, right, with Haley and company. But you know, I he's kind of broken. Seattle should make the call.
So
Detroit,
where
too.
do you think he'd have more success, Carolina or Seattle?
He's not going to Carolina. It's not zero chance. He doesn't want to go there
because they're going to. He doesn't want to go. Okay.
Yeah, there was a mutual disinterest it was reported previously.
Okay. That's good to know because
yeah.
Well, then Seattle could end up getting a draft pick for him.
Yeah,
seriously.
Yeah, I mean they should have the cap space to acquire him. Any team is going to do that. They're going to make Cleveland bite a little bit of that bullet. I still think Detroit would be the best environment for him.
Yeah, but I'm not doing that if I'm Detroit.
I would over Jared Goff every day of the week. Don't need to take a quarterback this year. It's a 1-year thing. You're trading probably a 4th or 5th round pick for him, and his upside is that of we saw from his season.
Here's my problem with that. Do you think Baker Mayfield will ever be a top 10 quarterback?
I think he was the 11th best quarterback after 2018.
In the landscape of the league right now, you think he'll be a top 10 quarterback?
I think he could be better than Derek Carr. Probably.
You think Derek Carr is a top 10 quarterback?
I think Carr's round 12. Maybe 14.
Okay.
So Matt Ryan's falling out. Kyler's not consistent enough to be there, and he has injury problems. So you got, let's say, Brady, who's not going to be around for too much longer, potentially. Rodgers, Mahomes, top 3. Russ, whatever Watson is. Josh Allen, in no order, right? Burrow, Herbert, Lamar. You don't think he could be on the same plane as a Dak, a Tannehill, a Derek Carr?
Well, that's what I'm terrified of.
I mean, that is Detroit, a top 10 quarterback right there.
That I don't want that tier though. I want more than that.
But
if I'm in Detroit's shoes, where you are set, you have taken all the right steps for a proper rebuild to potentially land that top 5 guy next year.
That is a fair. Guy. Yeah, if you're worried about
what I'm terrified of is he plays well. You talk yourself into he's your new franchise quarterback, and you end up not getting a Bryce Young or whoever it may be.
That is 100%.
I think
fair.
You are buying yourself a good quarterback because I think he would succeed there. I think Detroit is like a dream landing spot for a quarterback right now.
Yeah,
and I do think Baker would play there.
Yeah.
But that's just not a ticket I want to buy.
That's totally fair. Yep. You make a very.
I don't want to maybe get Derek Carr. I want to maybe get Mahomes or Herbert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Stroud or Bryce Young, both of them could be that.
Yeah. Have I been sending you the Bryce Young clips?
No, but
I know I've been tweeting him.
You know what? Will Levis, throw him in there. That's another guy with a sky-high potential.
Yeah, he's made some really good throws.
So, you know what? You've talked me out of Detroit for them. Seattle makes a lot of sense then.
Yeah. Yep. And I think Seattle could be in the mix. In the NFC.
Nah. They're the 4th best team in that division by a mile. I just don't see it.
Yeah, but are they the 7th best team in the NFC?
No. I can't see it.
Okay. All right, let's talk a little bit of free agency here.
Yep.
Who were your 3 favorite free agent signings?
Okay.
Of the 2022 offseason.
Number 3, Teron Armstead. The Miami Dolphins for 5 years, $75 million. From a fit, it's 1. From a contract, from an injury risk, from all that stuff, it's a little bit lower. It's a 3-year deal, and he has missed pretty significant time. They can get out of it after 2024. So, I mean, technically they could get out of it after 2023. There is something that triggers that guarantees $5 million of the salary on the third day of 2023 for 2024. But, they can get out of it. But, I mean, they needed offensive line help so damn badly. Just so badly. That's 3. Number 2, Chandler Jones to the Vegas Raiders.
I know you're a big Chandler Jones guy.
I think
like
he
big,
is.
Big.
I think he's a top 10 pass rusher with the potential to be top 5 again if he stays healthy. He has some of the filthiest moves in the sport, and you put him opposite Max Crosby, and they can rush 4 all day. He's better than what Ngakoue was by a lot, and Ngakoue was really freaking good last year.
Yeah.
So, and he's better versus the run. And then number 1, I think you can probably agree with this, Justin Reed to the Chiefs.
Oh, you jacked one from me.
Yeah.
I didn't think you were going to use that. I didn't think you liked that signing that much.
Well, they need a safety, right? Like, it's a 2-year deal. First off, it's a 2-year deal. He'll be a free agent again at 27 if he plays out the full 3 years. So for him, it's great. And for them, he's a versatile guy. I don't consider him an elite player by any means, or even a top, 10, 15 safety, but he has the skill set to be one. And I think he has a physical edge that they lack in Juan Thornhill. And Tyrann Mathieu is just a little small, even though he brought that. I think they're still going to suffer without Tyrann Mathieu from what his football IQ was and everything that he brought to that team as a communicator and leader on the defensive side. But I think salvaging that position and at the cost, 4.5, 12.7, and then you can see about the last year. Like that's pennies on the dollar for someone of what his impact could be.
That was my number 1. I really didn't think you were gonna steal that from me, because I told you in the DMs, I said I said my closet take is I think they upgraded.
Yeah, no, I know,
and I know he hasn't. It was 2019. He had a really good year.
Yeah,
and then the last 2 years it just hasn't quite been the same.
Yeah. It's Houston too, right? Like, so it's.
Yeah, I really think he can be everything Tyrann Mathieu was for them. I know we haven't seen it from him yet, but he's a former slot corner. He has all the athletic ability. He's longer. I think he's really smart. I think he showed when the team was good in 2019 that he was able to play a lot more physical. Mm-hmm. And it's a closet take for a reason, but I guess it's no longer in the closet. But that one was a wow signing for me.
Yeah, I didn't even consider that would be the option for them. I thought they would go harder on someone like Marcus Williams, but I guess they wanted more of the versatility, and Marcus is probably better as a true free.
Yeah, they kind of need both.
They do.
Kind of need both of those. Yeah.
I don't think Thornhill can play in the box.
I had this mocked. What if they land Dax? Justin Reed and Dax.
I don't think he'll be there.
I don't think he will either, but just, in the same realm of like Trent McDuffie to Buffalo, like, ooh.
Oh boy.
That'd be nasty. Okay, so I did come with backups.
Yep. Well, you said 3,
so steal.
Right?
Yeah. I really like DJ Chark to Detroit.
I totally forgot about that.
It's just gets to play in a dome. I think Goff, like, for what he is, he can hit a deep ball.
He's similar to Kirk Cousins, right? Like, just in structure, he can make the throws. If you need him to deviate even slightly, it's a car crash.
Mm-hmm. And it's just, everything the Lions do makes so much sense. And I love that about them. Like, they just keep building like logical piece upon logical piece. So they nailed up Amon-Ra St. Brown as your slot guy. You got Hawkinson in there. They fixed this offensive line well, we need to see it all come together, but we expect that offensive line to be healthy and dominate next year.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was good when they were together last year.
Yeah. Yep. Which was unfortunately not long enough, but
yeah.
Now you have your vertical threat, who I can't believe got as little as he did.
Yeah.
with what we've seen, basically since that signing, with what we've seen with the wide receiver market, it's incredible.
Well, injuries, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was really a
of course.
spectacular player in college too.
I hated him.
Yeah. Watching how he developed, he had my favorite thing was he would catch the ball and I'd be like, he has no idea where the end zone is. He would catch the ball in college. It was unbelievable, and he's turned into a legitimate player.
He's like the real life version of the old Madden glitch where the camera wouldn't adjust and you would catch it and run the wrong way.
Oh boy! So who's your third?
So he was, well, I guess we'll say he's number one.
Okay.
J.C. Jackson, number two. I am gonna say we need to see him away from Belichick. But I think he's gonna ball out. He's just a ball hawk in that system.
I will say one thing.
Okay.
He has never played cover 3 in any way, shape, or form at a level of an NFL player, because they do not teach it in New England.
Yeah,
they are a man coverage team. You don't think he can handle it though,
with the way Staley communicates that stuff?
Old dog, new tricks. He's just never done it, right? Like that was the one thing about the fit. I thought Vegas was a perfect fit for him with McDaniels and company and Graham, because like that's just a 1-to-1. You know the system, you know the whatever.
But Graham runs a ton of cover 3.
He does, but he didn't have to. Like he did it because of personnel a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's just he's never done it. When he's done it, he's busted badly. You saw it against Buffalo. He just has no idea when the guy's in his blind spot. It's just not his thing. So that was my one bit of hesitation. I'm like, this dude's a really good man guy. He has excellent ball skills. The ball finds him. Sometimes he doesn't even find the ball. The ball just finds him. Like tips and overthrows. He's playing all the way back, and quarterback overthrows a guy on a hook, and it's just right in his arm. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my only bit of hesitation with him. Just I know I want to see it happen.
If they gave him like a market resetting contract, he wouldn't have been on this list. But
yeah,
I mean, he got the same that William Jackson got and Trey Waynes got. Like, well, a little bit more than Trey Waynes. Waynes got 12. JC got 15.
Yeah, and it is technically a 2-year deal. I mean, you could bite a bullet in year 3. Year 4, going into year 4, you can just get out of it. So, like, from that perspective, it's relatively safe. But it's 8, 17, 19. If you're paying $20 million a year for a corner, hopefully by then
I think in 3 years that 19 is going to look a lot better.
Yeah, I think so too. So
because you got some big names coming up.
Yeah.
I guess the third I'll pick from my list is it's a lot of offensive linemen. I will choose Lyle Collins to the Bengals. I mean, they did what the Chiefs did. I mean, you fix your O-line.
I don't think they fixed it necessarily. I like Lyle. I think I have some concerns. I think his back and his core strength were weakened a little bit. I think he just didn't have the same energy and effort at times that you would want. There was
something weird going on there.
There were just things. He wasn't anywhere near the dominant player he was. He was a solid right tackle, and he got paid like one, right? 3 for 21 shows that they don't believe in him the way that he used to.
Is that all it was?
Yeah. Yeah, 3 for 21. I think Kappa got more. Kappa got 435.
Wow, I guess I assumed it was going to be bigger than that, but
it's basically a 1-year deal.
Okay, there might be something going on there. We'll have to.
So that was just right. Like I agree with you. If them going in on to get him, it's a massive upgrade. Even if he is a shell of what he could be, it's better than what they had. by a lot.
Well, let me pull another one out of the barrel then.
Okay.
And say Morgan Moses for the
Okay.
Ravens.
Yep.
Because they are literally paying him $5 a year for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Who I don't see him being anything less than he's been, which is just a solid right tackle who especially will be good in their power run game.
Yep.
And I don't think he's much worse than Orlando Brown. Like, he's worse, but to pay Orlando Brown $20 million.
No, oh yeah, I mean, from that perspective, it's a much better deal for them. And besides,
give me Moses for $5 over Orlando Brown for 20 and holding out for a massive contract. Like,
and never playing right tackle again. Anyway, which he was never going to do again. It's definitely a good move for them. I've liked some of the moves they've made to improve that offensive line in Baltimore, because I was not big on the way that their line was structured previously. Like, I'm not a Bozeman guy. I'm not a McCurry guy. Just, there are some pieces, but I like Zeitler a lot, especially the way that he played for them. Mm-hmm. Moses, I like they've improved in a few areas. They're getting Ronnie Stanley back. Like, they're in a better spot now than they were last year or at the end of 2020.
Ben Cleveland breakout season coming at you.
I mean, he's just a massive human being.
Oh, man. Moving refrigerator.
Yeah.
What's your least favorite free agent signing?
Without a shadow of a doubt, Allen Robinson.
Elaborate.
I don't think so. What is the most important thing that Robert Woods brings to the Los Angeles Rams before he was released?
Given the other guys there, run blocking.
Yep. His biggest attribute was that he was an inside-out run blocker, and he was one of the elite players in the run blocking game because they used him and Kupp to supplement their offensive line, which was not good, and to sift and to work in the outside spaces, and they were the reason their run game was successful. If you look at the difference in their run game when Robert Woods is healthy and when he wasn't, it was night and day because they didn't have somebody to sift and to be able to make those plays. And the interior offensive line for the Rams was disgustingly bad. Andrew Whitworth had to go into full pass protect mode for the second half of the season. He wasn't even trying in the run game. He was standing there and just getting in the way at 6'7", 330. So they had literally 3 offensive linemen who offered 0 to the run game, and they lost Robert Woods. So aside from the fact that Woods is a really crafty receiver, he's great after the catch, he did all that stuff. Robinson is none of those things relative to him. He's not someone that you want to be putting in line, which is a big drop-off from what they had, unless they want to put Bennett Skoranek in that role for Robert Woods. Van Jefferson can't run block. Odell showed effort if they bring him back, but if Odell is a better run blocker than you have a serious problem. Like, Van tried, he had nothing. Absolutely nothing. And Odell never run blocked in New York or in Cleveland. And he had a lot of effort in Los Angeles. I was very impressed by that, but it was not Robert Woods. So to rely on Kupp in that space by himself, it wasn't so much that they brought in Allen Robinson. For what it's worth, he's a talented player. He's coming off injury. I like him. I don't love him at that cost, but it's the fact that they brought him in and then they brought him in to replace Robert Woods.
Yes.
That is a massive downgrade, both as a receiver and as a blocker in the most important role on that offense.
I totally agree. I think, and he's going to have to play. I mean, unless they just use him more like Odell and he's kind of on the backside and working ISO, I guess we'll find out.
But he's not shifty like that, right? Like that's the problem. Odell was able to win inside because of his athleticism, and Robinson's more of a vertical plane guy.
Yes.
And so is Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson is a space player. He is not a route runner. He does not create separation. He finds holes. So
yeah, I think what happened there was they were planning on allocating that money to Vaughn. They missed out on Vaughn, and they just said, well, where can we spend this money? And Allen Robinson was the top of their board, best players available board, and they spent it there. And then they're like, well, crap, we didn't think about this cap. We got to get Robert Woods out of here. I just
that team
and honestly, I'm not crazy about the Bobby Wagner signing either.
It's a massive.
I think it'll be fine.
Right?
Yeah,
like Raider and company, they were bad, man. Just really bad. Ernest Jones showed some flashes at the end of the season. I was very impressed when he came back from injury.
Mm-hmm.
It just, God, they're, without being too derogatory to the Rams, they just make some really stupid decisions.
Yeah,
They have so many blue chip players that they can survive it, but this is a 4 seed that snuck into the Super Bowl. And I mean, if Tampa was smarter in their game plan, they probably win that game to begin with. And then if Jaquiski Tartt doesn't drop the interception, they probably win that game.
Stop it.
I mean,
they slaughtered the Bucs. They slaughtered the Bucs.
Saying
4 fumbles in the second half. Let the Bucs back in.
No, I'm saying from a game plan perspective, not the way that the game went, because they stopped running the football. They ran the ball for like 60 yards to start the game, and then they never ran it again. And they were a better team that day than the Bucs by a long shot. They were, but it was a terrible game plan nonetheless. So, but 49ers, same thing, right? Like so they got there, they won. Kudos to them.
I think last year's team ended up giving them a damn good team by the time. I think they were the best team other than like Buffalo, Kansas City.
So they were the 3rd or 4th best team.
In the NFC, they were the best team, and they were fortunate that. Well, I think Green Bay could have handled them if they could have gotten healthy, but
but so that's kind of my point, that they just make some really weird off the wall decisions, and they have enough of a buffer because of the talent that they have in key spots that they can get by.
Mm-hmm.
And it paid off, right? Like it worked. Kudos to them. Their process.
I don't think they repeat.
Yeah, their process just confuses me in a lot of situations. And I mean, like, they spent big money on Brian Allen. If you want to talk about let's call that a re-sign, right? That was the worst deal given out to any player this season.
Yeah, he's not a $7 million center.
I describe him as bordering the reject NFL player category.
Whew.
I think he is the bottom of starting centers, and he should not be starting. And he was the worst player in the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship and the divisional round.
Wasn't Akeem Adeniji starting at right guard?
Yes.
He's worse than that?
Yes. Yeah.
I think you just hate the guy.
Nope, not at all.
He's not worse than Akeem Adeniji. Come on.
I watched 15 games of his before I wrote him up, and I said, I don't understand how this guy's starting. I don't understand how he's on this team. He brought nothing to the run game or the pass game. He was smart. He could pick up stunts occasionally. Did he handle them well? Not really, but he could get there.
So he's better than Akeem Adeniji.
He couldn't. He got knocked into the backfield every run play.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw it in the Super Bowl, right? He was responsible for every single negative play in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah. No, they weren't moving those guys anywhere. Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah.
So who's yours?
Worst?
Yeah.
My least favorite move of free agency was the Bears letting James Daniel go. Just because they've done nothing. And I was really excited to see what he would do now in more of that wide zone blocking fit up front. And I just thought it was such a no-brainer. And it's not like he got some massive contract he got paid, but if I'm the Bears, and they, at the time, they gave that money to Larry Ogunjobi, who's fine, but
Mm-hmm.
I think their priorities are a little weird right now.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
that's not a signing. But that was the one that was like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. And he's going to
Like,
play center, by the way, for the Steelers, which is awesome. That's his best spot.
really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're going to probably move
Man,
Green over to guard.
I'm curious what they're gonna like. Are they gonna kind of move those guys a little more? Because they have a
They're going to
couple good
do,
athletes on the inside there now.
yeah, they're going to do Green, Daniels, Dotson on the inside.
Well, just blocking wise, like, do you think they go a little more on the move system wise, like with Big Ben gone now?
You might see it. I think they can kind of do both. Dotson's probably more of a power guy, so they have a little bit of a weird mix there. But
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, I guess my least favorite signing then was the combination of signing Aluakun for the Jags and then just releasing Miles Jack.
Yeah, that was unless they're afraid of Miles Jack's knee,
Yeah.
right? Like that has to that would be the only thing to me that's like, okay, his body is deteriorating. They need to get rid of him. But if that's not the case, it's just like, what are you doing?
You're basically spending 20 mil on Aluakun because you're taking on 5 mil in dead cap to cut Jack.
Yeah.
And
I like Foye. I like him a lot, just not as a Mike, right? He's a Will.
Yeah. And yeah, that one, they seem to just be spending to spend.
Which maybe they have to, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Right? There's there are NFL rules about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
I'm surprised he went Foye, not Christian Kirk, for all that money.
He's on this list as well.
Okay.
I think he at least you can reason to like if they saw something.
It's a 2-year deal.
Yeah. The money's not as lethal to them as it originally looked.
God, it looks so bad.
After all the dust settled with Jacksonville, I looked back on it and I was like, did they overpay for pretty much everything? Yes. But I'm still much more happy about that group for Trevor Lawrence than beforehand.
Yeah.
You're not going offense in the first round with that first pick. So, like, you bring in Sheriff. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
You get Kirk, who is not a number one. You're going to end up having to get out of that contract eventually. But if that's what you had to pay to, I know Chicago is interested. If that's what you had to pay to get them to come to you, like, they have more than millions of cap space. They have plenty of room. I like Evan Ingram there, just as a piece.
Zay Jones.
Hell, Zay Jones has played. He's played.
he has been in the NFL.
He has been in the NFL. He's
all-time
better
leader.
than what they had on the outside last year. You still have Marvin Jones, I guess, but he's deteriorating.
All-time leader in receptions in college in a season. Zay Jones.
Are you serious?
ECU, baby. They get 150 some odd receptions his senior year.
I remember people comparing him to Julio Jones coming out.
That's just name bias. Get out of here. 158 receptions as a senior.
No.
Yeah.
In one season?
One season.
Get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess that's like 7 games of healthy Drake London, so it's not that crazy.
Wow.
I'm not wrong.
I mean, fun fact, Corey Davis holds the record for the most receiving yards in college football history.
Yeah. I think I knew that. He balled. Yeah. He was just on a different playing field.
Yep. Receptions total is also Zay Jones. So not only did he hold the record for a season, he holds the record for career. Do you know who number 2 is?
Good. For career receptions?
Yep.
Chris Olave?
Nope. His former teammate at East Carolina, Justin Hardy. 387.
No way.
Then it's Ryan Broyles, Corey Davis, Trent Taylor, Taylor Stubblefield, Tommy Schuler, etc.
Taylor Stubblefield. That's not a real player.
But so here's the kicker to all of it. All of these guys played at least 4 seasons, except for two in the with the guys who played who had at least 300 career receptions. The first one is Eric Page from Toledo. He had 306 receptions in 3 seasons.
Wow.
The second one is Antonio Brown with 305 in 3 seasons.
Central Michigan.
Yep. I mean, the names of these schools, none of them are big name. It's East Carolina, Oklahoma for Ryan Broyles, Western Michigan, Louisiana Tech, Purdue, Marshall, Houston, Ball State, Washington State, Marshall, Toledo, Western Michigan, Central Michigan, Texas Tech, Baylor for Kendall.
I thought we'd maybe get a Hunter Renfrow drop.
No.
As you're sorting through these.
Let me see. Is he on here? No. He didn't.
He might not have been a 4-year starter.
No, he was. He just never got that production.
How many does Olave have?
Not that many, I don't think. He's not even on here. Didn't even break 204.
I guess, yeah, his production last year, he didn't even have 1,000 yards last year, so. Okay.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, the other guy that I wasn't crazy about was Hassan Reddick.
Yeah. It's a little awkward of a fit. I know they want to play him in that Sam overhang role for the Eagles, which, I get it. It's kind of the Uchenna Nwosu role that he played in the Chargers, or the Bruce Irvin role that was played for Seattle for so long. Like, I get it. It's just,
there's so many bodies there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a lot of money for a fit that I was just like, I think he'll be a basic starter. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to explain.
There are a few moves that I really did like that we didn't get to talk about. Love Ted Karras to the Bengals. Love it. Jordan Whitehead and Jacob Martin to the Jets.
The Jets.
Huge fan of those two.
Joe Douglas
yeah,
really impresses me.
Mm-hmm.
He makes a lot of really smart moves.
Yeah. DJ Reed, very, it's really a 1-year deal, which, that's a low risk, high reward. Yep. Lakin, I like that on the offensive line.
Yep.
Not a huge fan of them letting Fadakasi go, but you can't pay everybody. Marcus May, he's getting older. I'm fine with that.
Has he signed?
He signed with the Saints.
That's right.
3 years. I don't get the Uzama and Conklin moves, but it's whatever.
I get it.
No, not both.
Well, why not? If they're going to run a lot of 12, who else is going to play?
They had a bunch of guys on roster, and Tyler Conklin's nothing special.
Who do they have on roster?
What do they have? What's his name?
They have that guy that ran a fast 40 that they've got as an undrafted pickup.
Yeah.
Out of the SEC, I think.
Yeah, let me see who they have on roster, because I know they have people. They have bodies. Ryan Griffin, right? Still there? Lawrence Cager, who's moving to tight end. Brandon Dillon. Trevon Wesco. Kenny Yeboah. Okay.
So, fun fact about Cager.
Yeah.
He is the first scouting note I ever made on my phone. When I was kind of starting to get into scouting. I don't know exactly when it was, if I had started my YouTube channel or not. He is 2 years before he came out of Georgia.
4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. It's about right. And I was at an airport, and I was just starting to kind of, when you're traveling, you get, maybe you're not like me, but I'm just like very motivated and like forward thinking about my life and what I'm doing.
Yep.
So I was like, I'm going to get into scouting. So there was a football game on, and I was like, I'm going to take notes. And Lawrence Cager just like mossed this dude. And I was like, okay, number 15 for Georgia. Like, it was the first football note I ever made on a guy. It was Lawrence Cager.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. Fun story.
That's great.
We're officially off the rails. I love it.
I mean, that's how we are, right?
Yep, totally.
Yeah. So,
well, I do have one more topic if you want to get into it.
Let's do it. Let's do it quick.
Okay. Yeah. So expectations for year 2 quarterbacks. Let's simplify this. We'll just go through them and say, where you think they'll end the season in your rankings.
Okay.
So, Trevor Lawrence.
16.
Yeah, I was going to say 17. I think it's a good year.
Yeah.
Not great
He'll
year,
show
but
improvement. I
looks
don't think
better.
it'll be, yeah.
Yep. Zach Wilson.
23.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
I don't see a tremendous bump up, but I think it's enough to feel decent going into year 3.
Yeah. You just want to see an element of consistency and stability there.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole offense.
100%.
And hopefully you now have enough talent in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then Trey Lance. I got a number in my head.
19.
Ooh, okay. I was going to say 12.
Whoa.
Which is funny because you were bigger on Lance than I was coming out.
I want to just see it first. I'm conservative when it comes to that sort of thing. So
Sure.
I don't want to jump the shark there.
Yeah, I can't remember if I put an MVP bet down or not, but I just Shanahan, man.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
Shanahan.
He might not even start. We might not even be alive tomorrow. Like, how can we know who's starting for the 49ers?
Okay, Kyle. Okay, Mac Jones.
18 to 20. So kind of
Yeah.
same.
I was gonna say 20. I think he is what he is. And then Fields.
This is the toughest one, I think. Mainly
Want me to
because
go first?
Yeah, go first.
28.
I was going to go 25. I think that I just don't have enough faith in that offensive staff yet to
Exactly.
and the way that offensive line is structured and the team, like, they have no draft capital. They didn't give them real weapons. I think you're going to see growth. I just don't feel confident that it's going to be enough. He'll be above Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones, those guys who need to be replaced going into into 2023. I have so little expectations for that team.
To me, Fields was, of the 5, like, the one that needed the most support around him to weed out the bad tendencies that he had at Ohio State. And those bad tendencies already showed in year 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with a worse offensive line, poor receiving group, I think it could get like Trubisky-ish. Like, I think it can break him. I talked about it with Zach Schomler when he came on, that I understand their thought process for how they're building that team.
Yeah.
Kind of taking 2 steps back, building cap space, trying to get younger, figure out what their strengths are. But in doing that, they are going to, I think, doom Justin Fields.
Which might be something that they already feel comfortable doing.
Yeah, it's not there.
Right? Like, you wouldn't do this otherwise.
Yeah, it's almost like I wish they would have traded him.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's very possible that he will be fine because he was accurate vertically, and he, his inaccuracy was more in the timing underneath, with a lot of musical chairs and not getting the reps with a lot of those guys early in the season. Which is not going to be the case next year. Hopefully Tevin Jenkins is healthy. You have Cody Whitehair. Borum held up well in a couple of games, was really not good in others. Like, there's something there that if they can get some consistency and culture in place, that he takes a jump mentally year 2, which I think was really the thing, that the game was just moving too quickly for him at times, like it is for most rookie quarterbacks. Thought that was the case for Lawrence. I thought that was the case for Wilson. Didn't think that was the case for Mac, but he's just kind of right. It's just kind of how he operates.
Yeah.
His thing is the physical tools that limit him. So like Fields was just a little too antsy, but you saw the potential from some of the things that he did. It's just, they brought in a defensive minded coach, right? Like they brought in a team to build a really strong team, whether that's right now or in the future. It's
kind of funny how that whole coaching tree now, I mean, we'll see obviously what happens with Fields, but it feels like Philly, Indy, and Chicago now. Like, is that whole tree just going to end up butchering the quarterback position? Like,
hey, Matt Ryan's going to be great for Indianapolis.
Oh yeah, well that's their 5th quarterback in 5 years. Like
but look who.
And you're getting a guy that's 15-year starter. Like, you know what he is.
Yeah, but look who they had, right? Like, they had 2 guys retire on them: Jacoby Brissett and Carson Wentz. Like, that's that's like I can't put that on them. They brought in Rivers to be a bridge because they thought they were close, and the team let him down. Yeah, he wasn't special, but he wasn't a bottom 15 quarterback. He was like the 15th, 16th best quarterback that year. It just they kept charging him.
I'm really sad that we're not going to get to see Jordan Love somewhere else this year.
I know.
Would you agree with me that he would be, let's just say he's coming out, like he's 23 years old, like let's say he's in this draft, would he be your first pick?
At quarterback or in general?
At quarterback.
Yeah. If you flip his senior and junior year or his junior and sophomore years, it's a guaranteed yes.
Yeah. Well, I just mean like if in some weird world where he just entered what we know about Jordan Love right now after 2 years on the Packers, like if he just in some weird world was in this draft.
Oh yeah, easily. I think the biggest thing that I saw from him that made me feel comfortable with that is that he improved his mechanics.
Mm-hmm. They look great.
He became much more compact, much more fluid, much faster. I mean, he learned from Rodgers the same way that Rodgers learned from Favre in that regard, right? Like that, he overhauled his mechanics with a lot of reps on the side, and he settled in the one time he played.
Yeah. Did you do that whole game? Did you watch him?
Yeah. I've broken down his film a few times. He had some opportunities early in the game. They zero blitzed him like 9 times on the first 15 passes. Spags is.
You agree that
is crazy.
You agree that the O-line was terrible in that game and there was basically no one open?
Oh yeah, no, there was nobody open. There was absolutely nobody open, and then there was also a lack of chemistry, right? Like it was a you could tell on the road in primetime in Kansas City. Like
you could tell how much that offense was dependent on the Rodgers-Adams back shoulder connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they missed a throw in that exact area, and it clicked a little bit late. But if you consider that his first start,
I thought, Rodgers hitting back shoulders off his back foot from 40 yards away, like he's done that for so long that we just take it for granted. That game, it's like, oh yeah, that's not normal to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, it's not normal at all. Back shoulder, like in general, is the hardest pass to hit.
Yes,
because it takes so much communication between the two players, and it is as equal of a quarterback thing as a receiver thing.
Yeah,
because they have to be able to spin and flash their hands with timing in a way that doesn't tip off the defender so they can't recover, and have the ball exactly where it needs to be at that right. Like it is the perfect harmony of quarterback wide receiver play. And there's no way that anyone could just match that in a week, let alone a year.
Especially in a unique situation where the passing game is literally designed around that connection.
I mean, so I'll pose this question to you just to wrap it up. Jordan Love's game against Kansas City, equal, better, or worse than Trevor Lawrence's first game of the season, Mac Jones' first game of the season, Justin Fields' first start,
Zach Wilson.
Better or worse?
I'd say better.
I'd say it was probably close to on par with Mac against Miami, which was not a special game by any means, but it showed some signs, right? It was still more run heavy. It was still kind of coddling. They didn't really open things up for him for a while, but the Packers needed to ask more of Love in that game than the Patriots did of Mac. So if you're comparing
it's
it,
good
that
to hear
way,
you say that, because like obviously I've got the Packers background, and like I really felt like the criticism of him in that game was way over the top. Starting with Joe Buck's play-by-play during the game, where he was just every single play just shredding him as if he was analyzing Aaron Rodgers, like he's expecting him to come out and play like that.
which you would never say about Aaron Rodgers if he played like that anyway.
Right. I mean, you're talking about making your rookie debut in basically with the sliders turned all the way up, no pass protection, no receivers open, in Arrowhead against Patrick Mahomes with a week of practice.
Yep.
And he came out, played like shit in the first quarter. Absolutely. Was jittery, looked like garbage, but he totally settled in. He started hitting those backside digs. Only threw the one interception. I don't know.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised given the circumstances. Even though I've heard that he has struggled at times in camp in different capacities, which I understand.
Yep. Yeah, I just hope we get to see someone take a chance on Love, because the Packers aren't going to just give him away.
No, of course not.
Not this year.
Until they have to, right?
Right.
I mean, all it takes is an Aaron Rodgers injury and Jordan Love coming in and balling out for a game, and they'll get a second-round pick for him the same way that the Patriots did with Garoppolo.
All right. Well, we will be out of here with under 2.5 hours.
Whew.
That was a hell of a ride, man. That was super fun though. We got to do this more often. And
it's just us talking ball, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely planning on having you on for the draft stream. I'm trying to figure out how to make it work so we can have you on first night.
Sweet. Yeah.
Maybe I'll. Yeah, we can talk behind the scenes, but hopefully we'll have you on and keep it going. But thanks for your time and have a good night to you and the listeners. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
No, just a small plug. I'm going to probably try to do some NFL actual like logistical tutorials, things like that, kind of primers on some core things. So that'll be something that I'm going to try to get done in the future. You know, what is the salary cap? How is it calculated? Because a lot of people don't know how the salary cap works, that it's, you know, it's the percentage of the CBA that the players get in terms of total revenue generated, blah, blah, blah. You know, just stuff like that. And then kind of go into deeper concepts over time. Just try to build up people's knowledge of the inner workings of the sport, because it's not easy to get that information really anywhere. So that's really it. And I really appreciate you having me on. It's always fun just kind of chatting, going back and forth on these players. It's always a good time.
Absolutely. Yeah, everyone go check out Moonlight Swami on YouTube and make sure you're following him. I'll drop those links down below, and hope you enjoyed the show.
Yep. And if this happens before or after our game, if we have it,
just apologize to me now.
I'm so sorry.
I think our average point differentials you about plus 28.
Yeah, it's something like that.
I just self-destruct playing Madden against you. I don't know. You just had to get that in there.
Oh, of course.
All right.
I had to take a I had to take a backside deep dig on you.
Man, that hurts. Peace out, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.